this scale of issues across all of them, wage inflation, the unavailability of IT equipment and so forth, is going to hamper your organic growth. I mean, through the pandemic we saw organic growth almost disappear, and people weren't picking up new logos because those corporates were too busy
in the short
focusing
term,
on themselves.
not in the medium or long.
No.
I think that's a bit good. Let's say if a year where things look a bit flat because of lack of kit and whatever, that doesn't change the fact that the dynamics that we're in this market will grow.
Yeah.
Right? We've got to make sure that we don't extrapolate a short term and think it's always going to look like that, because it's not.
Yeah.
I think Chris's point, Chris is spot on about price increases and inflation as well. We, the Royal We as an industry, will kid ourselves over the next 2 years.
And I think,
and it's sort of, we've all been hankering after that double-digit organic growth thing, and if you talk to the market, it says everybody thinks the number's one thing, and the reality is it's a very different number. And all of a sudden the number is going to be that, but that won't, 10% won't be good for the next 2 years. But then we're going into a shitstorm after that, because these things go in cycles, and it's going to be hard, and it's so will it hamper organic growth? It will have an impact. It's just a question of how much and where, and again. The 2 or 3 people have said it in here. Have a plan, stick to it. There's, it's
So in summary, we think that the costs are going to rise, and there's going to be wage inflation. Prices will have to move up, and that there's a bit of a feeling that perhaps the value of businesses might come down because of the circumstances of the market conditions. If we go back to the pandemic, though, which was a lot worse than it is now. What actually happened was, because we're in such a great sector.
I'm not sure I agree with you.
Well,
I think we're heading into a real storm, which is worse than the COVID storm.
It
depends on what government does with interest rates. It depends what the Bank of England does. Depends what America does with interest rates. Because if they keep knocking interest rates up and up and up, and if they really are, where they're talking the talk on inflation, or they're really going to walk putting interest rates up, then you're going to have you're going to extend the recession. And we're going to dip. The question is how long it's going to dip.
I think my point was about the value of businesses. During the pandemic, actually the values went up, because what we had was there was nowhere else for the money to go. So it all flooded into our space.
Well, also because
and so there was a lot of competition. We didn't see any drop.
I think they're really different. To me, and I don't want to oversimplify this, COVID was like hitting the pause button, and everything was still okay. We just went into a pause, and then we came out of pause. And the point's right as well, which is at the same time it accelerated the shift in technology. So people needed to buy the right assets to make sure they were relevant to their customers. This is a general economic decline, which affects much wider. It's not a pause; it's actually a drop down. So we're going to have to react slightly differently to how we did with COVID. Plus, also there was boatloads of government support during COVID to make sure the pause was actually worked through. And we're not going to see that level of support in this.
I mean, logically, it's got to hit valuations, because all of us here have historically funded acquisitions through debt. That's where it's been. And if interest rates go up, and you use a simple metric of how long does it take for me to get my cash back, then as interest rates go up, it takes longer. Right? And therefore, at some point, sellers have got to recognise that, sorry mate, it's much more expensive for us to do these things now. That's just the reality of it.
I think there's an interesting subset of that question, which is everyone in this room is now doing. I started off buying businesses for £500,000 and now with 1 million in turnover, and now we're buying bigger businesses. What we haven't seen is the big wholesale consolidation yet of big guys coming together. Do we think that this drives that now we're in that period?
What happens over lunch? Probably coming towards the end of this, and thank you all for your time. But I think Ian might be just worth asking the appetite for lending money, because these guys have got lots of analysts working for them, and they do think a little bit further ahead. I've met a number of your economists and stuff. So how are you thinking? You still having an appetite? Are you in business at the moment, Ian?
We've never been busier. I think it's the simple answer.
Lending or recalling?
Lending.
Generally, when you approach a downturn, the first thing you do is look after your own customers, your own
Well,
portfolio.
absolutely. You're more nervous about putting on.
Are you looking after them, or are you actually looking for?
It's always got to be both. I mean, like any business, we have to do organic growth to keep the wheels turning.
Yeah.
And there are a number of businesses we've been talking to for some time, who haven't banked with us before. We've not had a debt product out with them before, and we're in those conversations now. As you would expect, those conversations are slightly different than they were at the beginning of the year, because we could see the pandemic reducing. The telco businesses and tech businesses generally had performed really strongly through it. There was a drive for the wider economy to accelerate their digital transformation policies, which was being good for everybody. It was bringing new products and services into the marketplace. When we're assessing debt at the moment, our parameters haven't changed. What we're looking for is quality, experienced management teams who know what they're doing, who recognise the issues and challenges they face in their particular sector. Who's the customer's customer? To your point about which sectors do you actually want to be supporting and what are you reliant on? So not just the customer concentration, do you have 80% of your revenue from one customer, but if you have 80% of your revenue from one sector and our forecast on that sector is going to struggle, then what's your contingency plan for dealing with it? Pricing hasn't changed, the sensitivities have. So to your point, Ian, about we're going to expect interest rate rises over the next 2 or 3 years. Absolutely, that's the only lever the Bank of England can pull effectively to manage inflation. I think the energy spike, which is causing a lot of the inflation, will start to fall away over the next 18 months. People realise they can't get their gas from Russia, that will be turned off. I don't think that situation is going to resolve itself anytime soon, unless he falls over dead, because they're just too stubborn. It's not in the Russian psyche to pull out these places. And so therefore, what are you doing to bring on alternative power supplies? So Germany, for example, just started importing a whole load of coal from South Africa. First time they've done that in 15 years. So the energy prices can manage themselves, but as with all crises, politicians just talk about the crises, they don't talk about the solutions that come out the other end. It doesn't really help that we've got a bit of a leadership vacuum at the moment as well in government. That needs to be resolved pretty quickly, and then hopefully we can see some plans coming out of the sunshine. So what I would say is we're open for business, for quality businesses. Yes, we want to support the businesses we know, and we can see how they've ridden out various crises before, whether it's pandemic, whether it's financial, whether it's even previous to that. But we are open for new business for the right people.
So all you guys are M&A leaders. Will you be buying more companies this year, David?
Definitely.
Carrying on same as Dawn. Chris?
Yeah, keep looking.
Yeah. Ian?
Probably not.
Probably not this year. Peter?
We bought 5 in the last 9 months, so we're going to spend 6 to 9 months integrating. We'll see.
Yeah.
But if something comes along that we really like the looks of, then we'll move. But ordinarily, I think probably 6 to 9 months break to get everything integrated.
Yeah. Matt?
We'll keep doing what we're doing. We've done 5 this year. We'll do more than 5 more this year. We'll do more this year than we did last year.
Good. Well, I think thank you very much. Unless you've got any last little questions, I think we've got to call that
I
right.
think look after your people.
Yeah.
Your people. I think Chris and the leadership. Reassuring our people that actually we're in the right sector, we're in the right products. You've got the right team. We'll weather this storm. Others will suffer, but we'll be fine.
Yeah. So we're not going to pinch anybody off of each other after today then.
It's a small industry.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Evolution Capital is the first UK corporate finance boutique to exclusively focus on providing advice to the ICT sector. We are the leaders in our field. With activities spanning 3 decades, we have provided strategic and transactional advice to over 200 technology entrepreneurs, shareholders and management teams of both privately owned and public companies. We deliver outstanding transactional outcomes by unlocking intrinsic value in our clients' businesses, by providing expert advice based on meticulous analysis and robust methodologies. This is who we are and how we do it.